Hey pond diggers and waterfall builders, here we are, how to build a waterfall part 2. Now this video is taking a long time, so I want to explain a little bit here. This whole backyard was being renovated, the swimming pool is being redone, patio covers are going up, landscaping, masonry, pathways, you name it. Now we just couldn't get that final footage until everything was complete. So for those of you who've waited for over a year for this video, I apologize, but everything's done now. So here we go! Okay, before we pick up where we left off on the waterfall construction, I wanted to show you a couple things we did here. We took about a week off on the waterfall part because we had to wait for some walls to be constructed before we could tie our waterfall into it. For example, this wall comes in and this wraps over. We've integrated this large stone into the wall, and then we've used a bit of mortar in this section to stabilize these larger stones. And there's a big planter that's going in behind here. We'll have some plants that can creep down over the wall and such. And this wraps over to where our waterfall was, and so we had to wait for this to be finished beforehand. One neat thing here, the homeowner had some geodes. She's kind of a rock hound, and she wanted us to integrate some of this into the water feature. So as you can tell, we have the stonework coming through, the natural granite that we're using locally here, and then we just tied this in. Looks like a little breakaway here. One thing I wanted to show you is this is that little fish tunnel we had established earlier on this project, and now that we have it all wrapped in, if you look down in through there, you can see the color of that tunnel that we used, but if you're looking from above, you don't see it at all. It just looks like kind of a bridge, and then the koi or the goldfish or whatever you're going to use would just disappear up into there. To give you some perspective, I take this piece of PVC pipe, and it goes back about 2 feet. So you can get quite a lot of fish in there. And it's a good 14-inch diameter in there. So when you're all said and done, you won't even know that there's a koi tunnel inside your pond. Okay, wait, let me move this section. So what I got going here is I framed in the waterfall the way I want to. You saw how I put this one piece of spillway stone here, and then I brought this stone to it. Instead of trying to break the slate and bring it in, this was already the right fit. So once I got this kind of established where it's going to be, then I can bring the frame stone to it, and then I can work in some foam or some other small stone back in here to fill in the cracks. But once I have it kind of established where it's going to go, then I want to bring stonework up to the bottom of it to help stabilize it. And it's a little loose at this point, and you might have a rock fall out or something while you're working, but this is kind of just to get us established. Once we get established then and set in place, then we can foam it all in place, and I'll show you how to do that as well. Having all these little different stones to choose from to fill in the cracks makes a big difference, so you're not running around. Now I kind of have this spot established, it's level, I like it in the area it's at, but I still kind of have to hold it. A little trick you can do is you can set a stone on it, and that's like holding it in place, and then I can step down and then fill in some other little cracks like that without losing it. All right, we're about ready to foam this waterfall in, and sometimes this can make or break the waterfall, and I'm going to show you a couple of tricks so you can do it cleanly, okay? If you'll notice, we have it all established here. I have my torpedo level remaining up here. I have this stone in place to kind of keep everything locked in place so I don't have to stand there and hold it the whole time. I have our professional gun today, and I'll show you. We can reach back in here, and I want to foam back in behind here. And what this does is it keeps the water from going underneath all the stone, and it keeps it on top of it. Now, for the sake of the video here, I'm gonna get into a do-it-yourself can of foam that comes with most waterfall kits, and most homeowners are purchasing some do-it-yourself cans of foam. But you'll see this nice applicator. I can really control the amount of foam that goes in here. And we're using the black waterfall foam because as it dries, it kind of grays a little bit. And if you do have a little bit showing, it's not quite as noticeable. But we'll show you some tricks on how to hide that as well. Let me break into my do-it-yourself can real quick. It's smart if you were using this do-it-yourself can of foam, it's smart to get everything ready for foaming. Everything that you could possibly need to foam, because these things don't, when you get them going, they get going, and you can't slow them down and stop and put them down and go have lunch or something like that. Once you get squirting, you got to do it all because everything will harden up inside these valves right here. So make sure to get the most out of your can, have everything ready for foam. Shake it up real good. And let me foam in some of these cracks. You'll see back behind here, I don't want to lose water back behind this stone. So I'm going to get quite a bit of foam down in here. Don't squirt this stuff too fast because it comes out pretty quick. So if I'm gonna do a real tall layer, first I'll do a single layer here first. I'll let that harden up a little bit and then I'll come back with a little bit more. You don't want to just squirt it all in there real fast. Let's do the other side too. That's a common made mistake. I see people just squirt this all up and it's still gonna expand a little bit. I can let it expand and then I can still come back and cut it a little bit, but I don't wanna waste foam and I don't want it to look too messy when I'm done. So I'll come back down under here. And you do not wanna get this on your clothes or they're ruined. Your wife will be upset, or your husband. There's a lot of women pond builders out there. Just do a little bit at a time, get it back in those cracks. Okay, so let me show you what's going on right here. From across the way, you're gonna be looking underneath this waterfall and you'll see this black foam from across the way. One of the cool little tricks that we do is we'll come through and I'll get a little bit of dirt like this. It's kind of chunky, this dirt, but sand works too. But I'll just take some of the excavated soil that we're doing, I'll kind of toss it up in there and I'll work it into the foam and it gives it a little bit more of an earth tone. You don't see it quite as much, but this is still expanding. But you still got it. If you're going to do this trick, you want to make sure you do it early on when the foam's still wet, so it has a chance to adhere to it. And I'll just leave it heavy like that on there, so it sticks. And once we get this pond rolling, and that'll all just wash away. You'd be amazed how strong this waterfall foam is. I don't want to build yourself up too much on this waterfall foam, but it's really strong. We've done home shows where we've come in and built these beautiful waterfalls, and then we come in 3 days later and tear them down. And you really have to work to get this foam apart. I mean, it's doable, but you have to really get into it. So I want you to rely on a little bit, but not too much, of providing you with some stability. We dry stacked this whole section right here. I mean, it's sitting there with nothing on it, no mortar, no foam and anything. But the neat thing about the waterfall foam is you can come in here and you can foam in the cracks, and when it solidifies, it kind of locks everything into place. But then again, if you want to come back and change something later, you still have the ability to get it apart. A little bit of work, but you can get it apart nonetheless. So get it all dry stacked, and then foam in all the cracks. Hide the foam with either some sand or some dirt, maybe a little cement dust works good. You can throw it in there and get it all pretty looking. And then you're set to go. We're gonna finish foaming this in, and we'll check back in with you when we fill the pond up with water and get it started. All right, just a little recap here. I'm gonna give you 5 little tips here so when you're building this waterfall. The first thing I want you to know is I want you to have a lot of materials to choose from when you're building the waterfall. If you don't like a rock, try something different. So have plenty of materials. That's a big, big tip. Number two is I want you to set larger stones on the frame of the waterfall to help give it balance and composition. Don't use too small of rocks. Set larger stones. It gives you the balance. Okay. Number three, I want you to step back and cross the way when you're building the waterfall, so that way you can get a different perspective. If you're right on top of it and you're building, sometimes you're just too into it, you're too close. So when you step back for reflection, it's a big, big help. Number four, I want you to use a level on the waterfall spillway. That way you have even distribution of water over your spillway, over the waterfall. Sometimes it'll be lopsided, you have too much water coming out one side. So using a little torpedo level is a big, big help. And number four, when you're using that waterfall foam, the waterfall foam can make or break that waterfall. So make sure you use plenty of waterfall foam. It gives you that strength. It gives you velocity of water over the waterfall instead of losing a lot of the water behind the spillway and the stone work. So also, when that foam is just a little bit wet, it's not quite hardened off yet, use a little bit of construction dust, either as sand or a little bit of cement or even some chunky dirt like we used in the video. Put that on top of that foam and kind of mash it in there and let it harden off. And that way you don't see these big black blobs sticking out of your waterfall when you're done with that waterfall foam, okay? So I hope that's been helpful. Take those 5 tips and get out there and build some waterfalls. But most importantly, have some fun. If you're finding our videos helpful, please show your support by visiting our online store at theponddigger.com. We have everything you need to help build and maintain your water features. Thanks for watching.